Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Stargirl Season 2, and this is gonna be my review for Episode 1, the premiere for Season 2 of Stargirl. Been pretty much exactly a year since Season 1 ended, so it's amazing that it's back. But of course, spoiler alert if you've not watched the episode, because we're going to be talking about everything. There's a lot to talk about because the premiere episode, they set up heaps and tease a lot, so there's a lot to jump into. So yeah, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it. But of course, if you are continuing on, you have watched the episode, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions about this premiere episode. Did you like it? Did you like what they set up? Do you have any theories going forward? Because a lot is teased. Let me know all your theories, thoughts, opinions, anything like that in the comment section down below. And of course, you're going to enjoy the video, you enjoyed this episode, you're looking forward to the rest of the season, want to drop a like on the video to show your support and all of that. So last episode was, of course, last season. So to end off last season, we had the ISA being defeated for the most part. Obviously, some died, some are still alive, but they're all accounted for. There's no one still running around. Of course, we also saw that Starman, aka Sylvester Pemberton, is alive, or at least we're led to believe that Sylvester Pemberton, aka Starman, and he's alive and he's on the search for Pat, and that does continue in this episode. The Shade returns to Blue Valley. Obviously, he sort of defected from the ISA originally, but now he's back in Blue Valley. Don't get him in this episode, but we know he's there. So, let's see what happens there. And Cindy, aka Shiv, discovers or recovers, what do you want to call it, the Black Diamond, which is of course holding Eclipso, who we know is going to be playing a pretty dark and big role throughout this season. But to start off this episode, and just this season as a whole, we picked up in a pretty dark place. Felt like I was watching Annabelle or The Conjuring. That's what it felt like. I was like, is the CW airing the wrong Warner Brothers property? But we start off in Melody Hills, Indiana. Decades ago, they don't specify when. It looked like the 50s or 60s, something around that. Correct me if wrong, but I'm going to say 50s or 60s based off the car that we saw, and also just like the dress sense and stuff like that of the people that we see in the in this scene. But we hear this like creepy happy birthday song going on. I'm like, okay, well, what's going on here? And we see this young girl named Rebecca, who's not allowed to go to a birthday party across the road. But yeah, that actually is Pat's car there. At first I thought it was I did think it was at the birthday, party's house, but it's actually at Rebecca's house. So yeah, at least we know where Pat's car was in the 50s or 60s. But a young boy named Bruce approaches Rebecca outside of her house, saying it will be fine for her to come over to this party. Like, it's fun. Come on, let's go have a fun time. And this is only for her to just avoid being hit by a truck. This is like some Pet Cemetery stuff. I was like, okay, coincidence, or this little boy is trying to kill you, one of the two. So yeah, I'm gonna go down the road and the route that this little boy Bruce is up to something. He then encourages her to take a present from the party, saying that there's a doll in that present. And there sure is a doll in there, but at first it looks more like, once again, we're in this like Annabelle Conjuring stuff, because it looks like the Annabelle doll. It looks like some weird, burnt up, possessed type of stuff, with a little boy revealing himself to be possessed by Eclipso, getting the Eclipso sort of like, moon face, if you want to call it. And that's actually Bruce Gordon. So he's the first host of Eclipso from the comics. This is just a much younger version. Will we see the older version? I don't know. Maybe he's just referenced. I'm not too sure. Now, Rebecca is attacked, and we can assume is killed on the floor there, because her mother comes along and screams at the sight of something. Whether it's the doll, it could be Rebecca's body. We're not too sure. I'm sure it's going to be revealed maybe later. Because the thing that makes me think that it will be revealed later is this isn't just like some random, Rebecca Brown or something. This is Rebecca McNider, as in Charles McNider, the original Dr. Midnight. There's some connective tissue going on here, and I wonder whether this was intentional back in the day that Eclipso targeted one of the JSA family members. Let's see where that goes, because what a start. But after this, we cut to the present day with Stargirl and the new JSA just patrolling the streets of Blue Valley, doing their thing, though there is really nothing to patrol. And we learn that Sportsmaster and Tigress were locked up after last season. They weren't just left on the floor of the ISA headquarters and just allowed to go run free. Now, this somewhat pointless patrolling is causing some frustration within the group, and a break is needed by most of the members. Even though Courtney is like, no, let's keep going, and Courtney continues to go. She's just sort of obsessed with being Stargirl. And to be completely honest, if you had sort of like these super abilities, or at least had an item that lets you be a superhero, I think we'd all be a bit obsessed, no matter the age. But anyway, we do have Courtney going through the JSA files in the basement late at night. Per Degaton, among some other villains, are brought up as Courtney is almost like just desperate to find some threat to take down and make it seem like I'm doing some good as Stargirl and I'm making use of my time as Stargirl. And this is of course concerning Pat. But as we do leave the basement, we do get to see the Green Lantern battery flicker and flicker, so it's sensing something. Now, Pat and Barbara are planning a family vacation to a lake house for 2 weeks to get away from just the stress of Blue Valley, and even though it's not straight up mentioned, the JSA stuff as well. And Courtney and Mike, of course, would rather just stay and do some JSA-related things. But hey, parents always get the vote. Even if it's one parent or 3 kids, the parent's always going to win. Now, we knew going into the season that there was going to be some hardship for Beth, because in season 1, Beth didn't really go over any major hardship. She sort of had a clean road, if you want to call it, even though, you know, she had her own struggles, but it wasn't as big as some of the other characters, but it was going to lead to season 2 where we saw some of that. Now, we do get to see Beth trying to get Chuck, aka Dr. Midnight, back up and running from the end of last season after he was taken down or destroyed by Icicle. But whilst leaving for school, she knocks over some stuff and finds out her parents are filing for divorce, but around her, they're just acting like everything is fine. So, major concern for Beth, because in her eyes, her parents had the perfect relationship and they were just like the perfect family and everything like that. So that would just be a massive shock to the system. Now, it wasn't just the JSA doing their own patrol around Blue Valley. Rick is also doing a patrol of his own around the town, and he's trying to find Solomon Grundy, or at least I thought initially he was trying to find him. I'm not too sure exactly if he knows exactly where he is all the time and stuff like that, but he finds a path of knockdown trees as well as quite a large footprint, and it will be interesting to see what their interaction is. What the interaction is just like if or when Rick does find him and, you know, gets to have, I guess, somewhat of a conversation to him. But later on in the episode, we do see that Rick is, I guess, the one bringing food to Grundy, because that was a lot of fried chicken, and we do see Grundy, or not see, but hear Grundy approach the fried chicken. Now, I don't know if there's been any sort of conversation between Rick and Grundy or any sort of interaction since the end of last season, because I think it's meant to be about 6 months since the end of last season. But I think it's just more this general, you know, maybe trying to keep him in Blue Valley at the same time because he wants to have that interaction later on. But I have to wait and see. I'm sure that's going to come eventually. I guess it just matters when. But one of the big moments from last season was when Yolanda killed Brainwave, and we see Yolanda this season still struggling with the events of that moment from last season, even going to a confessional at the church in order to just potentially just open up about what happened, which doesn't happen. But it's definitely a struggle to hold out those dark memories, and they do affect her pretty easily, it seems. This is potentially opening up herself to Eclipso later down the track. So, yeah, it's a major issue for Yolanda, but I think we can understand why that's an issue. So I'm very intrigued to see where that goes throughout the season, and whether it's something for the entire season or it's just like a segment of the season, and she sort of has to try and get over it to sort of not allow Eclipso in. But Yolanda, while she didn't open up to the confessional, she does open up to Courtney a bit about what's going on with her. And just a side note, when they were walking down the street in Blue Valley, there is a Mark Merlin Easter egg on the theater. I didn't catch there's usually a lot of Easter eggs. There was the one I clearly caught because it was on the theater board. And Mark Merlin's like a magic-based character from the comics. But anyway, Courtney reassures Yolanda that there really isn't much else she could have done in that situation from last season. But what else could you have done? Like, I guess Brainwave would have killed you if you didn't kill him. So what else could you have done? But while Yolanda is facing her own issues with that Brainwave situation from last season, Courtney also has another issue at hand, and that's that Cameron Marquand is back in town. So, that's a bit frosty. Get it? Bad joke? I don't know. Let's move on. Now, the school year is coming to an end in Blue Valley, with Rick also being called out for cheating on a final exam. I don't know. Rick said he studied. Let's trust Rick. Let's say that he did study. He might have. It seemed like he did, but he seemed like he was really annoyed that he got called out for it. So, I don't know. Will he quit school? Maybe. Not too sure. But there is an awkward encounter with Isaac Bowen as well, with Courtney in the lunchroom, as well as Artemis, who isn't happy with her parents being locked up, which is sets up a lot considering the end of the episode and what a certain other person is planning, which we'll get to. But unfortunately for Pat and Barbara and the dog, the family vacation gets thrown into the trash. Not even like just gets like slowly put in there. It just gets slammed into the trash as Courtney, I guess along with Pat and Barbara, learn that Courtney failed both history and English and will have to go to summer school in order to enter the next year of high school, wiping out the plans for that family vacation, which of course makes Barbara very angry, and Pat is just like, man, come on, like, throwing me a bone here. You're getting me in trouble. Like, the Stargirl stuff. It's eating up your life. Just help me out. Do your schoolwork. But we do have Sylvester Pemberton in one scene for this episode, and it's when he arrives at a local bar and diner. It's not in Blue Valley, just a local bar and diner somewhere in the world, in America. And he finds Maggie, who is the ex-wife of Pat Dugan, and he wants to know where he is. So this is obviously picking up from last season, where he went to Pat Dugan's last known address in Los Angeles and was pretty much asking the same thing. So, yeah, I wonder where... I'd assume that Maggie is the mother of Mike. So let's see how long it takes Sylvester to get to Blue Valley. I don't know how long it's going to take, but let's see. But in regards to that whole Courtney and Cameron thing, Courtney does see Cameron again and decides to talk to him, but someone is watching over that conversation, which is of course Cameron's grandparents, and they know who Courtney is, and I think it might only be a matter of time until they reveal all to Cameron. I do wonder what Cameron's reaction will be. And also it's very important to remember Mike's the one that really killed Icicle, so I wonder if they're going to say that Courtney or Stargirl killed Icicle, or they might say that Mike did. I don't know, I have to wait and see. Now, Zeke, the tow driver from last season, who Pat has now initially brought in recently to stand in for his shop when they were going to go on that vacation, which of course has been dumped, gets access to the holding area for the striped robot, and it's now his robot as well. At least it's his project, let's put it that way. I think it's going to be hard for Pat to shoo off Zeke. I think Zeke's there to stay, at least to help out. And it's probably good that Pat has help, that, an extra hand there to help him out with Stripe, maybe some other JSA related technical stuff as well. And one of the sadder moments of the episode was when Beth makes a dinner for her parents, obviously just in an attempt to create some sort of reconnection, reconciliation, whatever it might be. But neither of them show up due to, well, at least what her mother says, apparently being stuck at the hospital. But I don't know. I don't know how true that is. Probably it's some sort of divorce counseling sort of thing. But at the same time, Chuck comes back online for Beth, but he doesn't remember Beth, and he proceeds to shut down. And you got to feel bad for Beth. I mean, it's L after L. While last season it was a lot of W's. I mean, she had a lot of progression last season. Got some friends. Got a best friend in Chuck. It seemed like her family was going all well. And this season, it's like, oh my god, L. Like, eventually Beth's got to get a W, but I don't know when it's going to be. Hopefully it's soon, because you got to feel bad for her. But once again, Courtney can't help herself. She's doing more JSA research late at night, and she hears something downstairs. Now I was like, oh, is it the dog again? No, it's not the dog. It's someone with the Green Lantern battery. They are stealing it. And Courtney's like, hey, that's not your stuff, but it's not my stuff either, but it's more my stuff than your stuff. Cue fight scene. And there's quite a bit of destruction to the Dugan Whitmore household. The VFX in this scene were really good. And of course, the person taking the Green Lantern battery is Jenny Lynn Hayden, aka Jade, aka Green Lantern's daughter. Now, Pat, Barbara, and Mike all come down, so they see this. So, Jade doesn't run away. So I'm sure we're going to pick up with that next episode. They just sort of cut away from it. So I'm intrigued to see what the follow-on from that scene is and what conversation might play out. But to end the episode off, we had quite the cliffhanger when Cindy, I've got to stop saying Sydney, Cindy returns to Blue Valley, specifically Blue Valley High, and gets a folder from her locker called Injustice Unlimited. Now, Injustice Unlimited in the comics was the follow-on from the ISA. It's not led by Cindy, but, originally, but it is the follow-on. So we're not going with Injustice Society now. Technically, what we're going with is Injustice Unlimited, which I love the progression there. Now, in the folder, we get to see who is in the plans there. So Brainwave Jr. or Henry was initially a part of it. Unfortunately, he got yeeted. He's dead. So RIP the dream. But in there, along with Henry, we have Artemis, Croc, Isaac Bowen, and so of course that makes that cafeteria altercation between that interaction between Isaac and Courtney, and then that altercation with Artemis and Courtney a bit more awkward now. And then we also have Cameron Marquand, which you'd expect. But the last one, I was like, okay, well, if she holds up this photo, I'm like, they're not going to reveal it, are they? They'll probably keep that a secret. Nope, they lay it down, and it's Mike Dugan. And I was like, oh my god, where are they going to go with that? So I'm incredibly intrigued to see how and what the plan is to get Mike on that side. Is it meant to be through the Thunderbolt pen and try and corrupt that? I'm not too sure. Is it meant to just be through maybe Mike getting rejected by Pat and Courtney and not being allowed in the JSA? So it's like, well, what's the next big thing? Oh, being part of the Injustice Society or Injustice Unlimited now. So yeah, I'm incredibly intrigued to see what they do there with Mike and how he fits into their plans. But overall, this was a cracker of an episode to kick off season 2. Just a lot of setup, and it has me incredibly intrigued for what's going on with Eclipso as well as the Injustice Unlimited side. But also, it's more to remember, we have the Shade still there. The Shade, I think, comes in next week and next episode. So we still got to deal with him and set him up. So there's a lot going on this season. I can't wait to see how it plays out, but they kicked it off in a pretty fantastic way in this episode. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show your support. Let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions about the episode, what you love, what you hate, and everything in between. Let me know all your thoughts, theories, and stuff like that in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.